Chicago just declared educational bankruptcy. $734 million deficit. 432 teachers fired. 677 special education assistants gone. Why? They spent all the money on illegal immigrants. But that is just the start. This week, ICE raided a grow facility and found 319 illegals running forced labor camp. 14 unaccompanied children trapped inside. Meanwhile, LA's mayor is handing out cash to illegals who refuse to work because they're scared. Tom Homan's response? These Democrats haven't got the balls to be Border Patrol agents. Even Mark Cuban. What? Mark Cuban admits it's time to support deportations. The border crisis isn't coming, it's here. It's bankrupting our cities, and Democrats are funding the invasion with your tax dollars. Watching. We got the receipts. While our schools collapse and teachers get fired to pay for illegal immigrants, there's another crisis destroying America, our bee populations. The good people at Patriot Bee Best have done extensive research about this critical issue. They've created an educational online digest to spread the word about challenges facing the American bee and educating patriots to band together to solve the problem. Patriot Bee Best is a digital bee sanctuary for education and real change. For less than 17 cents a day, you can support this show and support bee restoration in the United States. Check out patriotbeebest.com and join the Hive today with promo code NEXTNEWS for 25% off. Check it out. Link down below, patriotbeebest.com, and we appreciate their support of this network. All right. What is going on? Karen Bass laundering taxpayer money through nonprofits to pay illegal immigrants too frightened to go to work. Because she has frightened that ICE raids, which are only happening because she won't cooperate in enforcing federal and state law. The insanity must end. Let's listen in.
It's just as she's saying that it's philanthropy.
Yes.
But what that means is there's all these non-profits, which just as we've seen before, that ends up being funneled through. It's actually taxpayer money going to the non-profits. Then she said, oh, it's philanthropy. No, it's taxpayer money.
Yeah, it's philanthropy. We're going to oversee it.
By the way, at a time when she has $1 billion deficit in Los Angeles, $1 billion deficit, and this is where it's about. And the final point, she says, oh, this is for people who are too frightened to go to work. Why are they frightened to go to work? Because of her fear-mongering. The whole thing is unbelievable. She's saying that it's philanthropy.
Yeah.
But what that means...
Unbelievable. Is she really doing that? Wow. Let's check this out. Here's more. Chicago flipping red.
Trump to come.
This is from the Trish Reagan show.
Chicago voters have had it with their mayor. Listen.
You all sit there and said you will not allow Trump to come in here and get these illegals. Yeah, you can smile. We're in $1 billion deficit. And you spent half of our money, half of that on illegals. You campaigned and doubled down that you would not raise property tax. You wanted to raise our tax $300 million. They shut it down. Now we back here for $150 million. Okay. See, this is what we asking now. Since you want to crash out, some of y'all say y'all willing to go to jail for it. Trump, Tom Homan, make an example of this right here first. Please come here first. Spend our tax dollars to go. Michael Rodriguez, you said to take Trump to court. Protect these illegals. That's cool because we about to make all of y'all aldermen famous. Y'all think this is town rat? I think not. Flip Chicago red. We not playing.
He may have a problem. Chicago voters have had it with their mayor. Listen.
You all sit up there and said you will not allow Trump.
Oh, yeah, Chicago has had enough. Here's President Trump talking about open borders with Laura Trump on Fox News.
I said, they want to have open borders. That was the first time I realized it. I didn't think it would be possible for anybody to want open borders because, who would want open borders? And open borders where people come in totally unvetted and unchecked, totally, just walk right in, walk right through. And some of the people, I know I want to be politically correct, but some of these people, you can look at them and you can say, these people are trouble. This is a rough group of people. And we're right now getting them out. And you know what? ICE and Border Patrol, Tom Homan, Christie's been amazing. Tom has been amazing. I said, you know,
everyone's been amazing. And here is Mr. Amazing Tom Homan on CNN.
Since 1984.
Not a safe space. Not a safe space for Tom Homan talking with Dana Bash.
I mean, bottom line is, from the day one, I've been doing this job since 1984. Detainees complain about the conditions of detention. And I said this many times. You can simply go to ice.gov and look at the detention standards ICE has. They have the highest detention standards in the industry. But these same congressmen are complaining about alligator Alcatraz. You didn't see them complaining about, under the Biden administration, people being held in a Border Patrol parking lot surrounded by a fence in the sweltering heat. Not a word. You didn't hear a word about 500,000 children being trafficked in the country and them not being able to locate 300,000. President Trump, this administration, is finding thousands of those children. So, you know, they have a lot of anger under President Trump on how we're doing business, and they ignored 4 years of open borders, historic migrant death, historic Americans dying from fentanyl, historic women and children being sex trafficked, historic number of people on terrorist watch lists coming across the border. Silence. Because they're complicit, because they didn't take the administration on and ask them to secure the border. You can't have strong national security in this country if we don't have border security. We got to know who's coming and what's coming and where it's coming. But instead, they kept silent and they kept feeding the American people a secure border, and we did not.
Yes, that's true. We did not have a secure border. Here's more. Acting ICE Director Todd Lyons slams Democrats for attempting to delegitimize ICE operations.
You know, ICE, like Mr. Homan said, that was a criminal operation. That was a federal criminal search warrant and federal arrest warrant that we executed. So, Bill, we hear all the time that, you know, ICE is out there. They don't have any warrants. They're just kidnapping people on the street. Well, we did exactly what elected officials on the left and the right have both said. If we had a criminal search warrant, if we had something signed by a judge, they would support us. And obviously they're not. We went ahead and did a dual law enforcement mission where we were looking at someone that was an organization based in America that was focused on human trafficking, forced labor, and you know, potential child welfare trafficking. And that's what we did. We went ahead and we executed that search warrant, yet still we meet resistance and a lot of rhetoric for just out there doing our law enforcement mission. Mr. Homan said that.
Tom Homan goes... He bodies a radical left loser who interrupts his speech at the Turning Point event over the weekend. Check it out.
That is not what they wanted. They're playing the long game. Let's release them in the community. Wait 3 or 5 years. Pardon me?
Are you an MS-13 member? It says so.
Hey, that's okay. That's okay. I got a question. No. I got a question for you. Why don't you come up here and hand me that picture? Bring it! USA! All right. They got morons like this all over the country. This guy wouldn't know it's like the surface nation. This guy ain't got the balls to be an ICE officer. He hasn't got the balls to be a Border Patrol agent. This guy lives in his mother's basement. The only thing that surprises me, you don't have purple hair and a nose ring. Get out of here, you loser. And you're such a badass, meet me off stage in 13 minutes and 50 seconds. I guarantee you he sits down to pee. Guaranteed. Sanctuary cities. Let me talk about sanctuary cities real quick. Sanctuary cities are pushing back against the Trump agenda.
That was solid gold. Oh, boy, I love it. Okay, Errol Weber, check this out. 24 hours ago. Great account, great follow. I encourage you guys to do so. 24 hours ago, he posted Chicago public schools now bankrupt as the city faces $734 million deficit after paying illegals. Now must lay off 1,458 employees. Watch this.
Workforce planning and budget. Chicago Public Schools just announced it's laying off more than 1,400 school-based employees. This includes 432 teachers and 677 special ed classroom assistants. CPS says this is part of its annual workforce planning and budgeting process. Historically, the district says more than 80% of impacted employees have secured new positions within CPS prior to the start of the school year. It's not known if the current $734 million budget deficit will impact that rehiring process. Chicago Public Schools just announced it's laying off more than 1,400.
Wow. Chicago is screwed. And check this out. Muse posted this 24 hours ago. Posting, out of touch? Is it just me, or do Democrats like Debbie Wasserman Schultz seem completely out of touch with the lives of most Americans? The vast majority of Americans brush their teeth in the same bathroom where their toilet's located. In fact, that's the standard of design in most households. Here she is. Democrats are shocked. Legal detainees must poop where they brush their teeth. Look at this. And then there's like a standard prison layout. Oh, my.
Drinking water. So they essentially drink. They get their drinking water and they brush their teeth where they poop in the same unit. They bragged that they went above standards, supposedly, and gave them a 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length inside the 32 detainee cage. A 3-foot privacy wall that stretches the length of the 3 toilets. So they...
Oh, yeah. But perhaps the most shocking is this from Mark Cuban. Mark Cuban calling on Democrats to support administration efforts to deport illegal immigrants. Wow. This I did not expect.
They should be putting Tom Homan on blast, saying, okay, the FBI has their top 10 most wanted list, right? Let's just get this right. Homan, don't, do it right. List the top 100. Let's go after them. List the top 1,000, criminals that are here that need to be deported. We'll all help you. But the Democrats would say something to the effect, we'll help you. They only have to do something that's the antithesis of what Trump says and does. You've never heard a Democrat say in the past 7 months, yeah, okay, I don't like it, but this is a step in the right direction. We're going to help, because I think the better path is for the Democrats to bring attention to the bad things and the good things and say on the good things, we'll help you, right? Which they would never say, because disarms. Whenever you're in a sales environment and you say something positive about competition, it's disarming. Yeah, we're better, but these guys, that's not so bad. They're trying really hard. Okay, Tom Homan, we don't want criminals. If Venezuela and Colombia opened up their jails and sent all their worst criminals to us, we don't want them here either. If MS-13 has 173 gang members here from where, we don't want them here either. Post that list. And you know what? Chuck Schumer, I'm Chuck Schumer. I'm going to help you get rid of them. I'm going to post all those lists everywhere. We're all going to go after those bad guys together because they shouldn't be here. Now you disarm him. Now you disarm the Republicans who, think that that the Democrats can't get anything right. You do things that you can undermine. Undermining in the Democrats' perspective is always, you're wrong, it's Trump, you're wrong. The T word, Trump, is your word. And you can't just always use that in a negative line. The best way to convince people to reconsider is to say, okay, they're doing this. Okay, we'll help them. But let's go, what about these people they're pulling off the streets in black hoodies, right? Post all the bad guys. We'll use our resources. Every single sanctuary city is going to, I'll make sure that they all allocate resources to go after the Tom Homan 100. And when one...
Wow. Okay, so he's basically saying use it as a strategy to get people, in their camp on board. Here's Secretary Noem torching the critics.
on top of each other. Would have said that back during the Biden administration and back when Democrats were in the White House and they were piling people on top of each other on cement floors and literally didn't have 2 feet to move. They never did that, and that's why this politics has to end. We took cameras in there. We will take cameras in there and show people what these facilities look like, because if you compare them to what happened under the Biden administration and under the Obama administration, these centers are at the highest levels, and they're even higher than what our federal prison standards are or state or local often are. Would have said that back.
Here is more crybaby Senator Alex Padilla. If I stood at Home Depot, would I get deported?
Of ICE. And what if I was outside of Home Depot because I like to do some work around the house, not dressed in a suit? Would I be a target of ICE enforcement under Tom Homan? Probably. And it's just wrong. It's not just due process.
Well, maybe if you were standing with the illegals who are on the corner holding cardboard signs asking for work, yeah, you might get rounded up with them. Okay? But I doubt if you're, walking the aisles with a shopping list looking for the right shade of blue.
Rights that have become the concern, but racial. And what if I was outside of Home Depot? Because I like.
Yeah, what if you were outside of Home Depot? Give me a break, dude. That's the same guy who got his ass handed to him when he tried to interrupt Secretary Noem. Here is Los Angeles Mayor Bass. Here's more of her talking about how she's putting cash.
Great idea. This is a way to distract from her failure as a mayor, the crime, the homelessness problem, the lack of rebuild after the fires that were preventable when you were in Ghana. Now it's this great idea. Let's give illegal aliens cash because they're too scared to work illegally. Watch.
We also are going to have a reinstitution of the Angelino card, something that Mayor Garcetti started during COVID, that will actually provide cash assistance to people. Because, you have people who don't want to leave their homes, not going to work, and they are in need of cash. We're organizing food deliveries. I mean, there's all sorts of things that we are having to do now to protect people from the federal government.
She said each of...
Protect people. You mean protect illegals? Protect people. Spare me the frickin' rhetoric here. Here's more. Tom Homan steamrolling Politico's Dasha Burns when she has doubt on the need for ICE to wear masks.
I think one of the things that's had a lot of folks up in arms is that ICE agents, unlike other law enforcement, have been masked to protect their identities. That's not something that we've really had on this scale in this.
Look at Tom Homan's face. Look at his face. As she's asking the question. He's like, are you freaking serious? Are you seriously asking me this question? Oh, he's just like getting ready. This is the wind-up face. This is the face that he has right before he turns into a lion and devours his prey. I can't wait to see this.
Country,
Well, we never had the scale of attacks on ICE we have now, up 700% attacks on doxing against ICE agents.
Well, you've had increased attacks on police officers as well in the wake of the defund the police movement too, but they haven't put masks on.
You name a police agency that has a 700% increase in assaults. Name one.
I haven't looked at that data. Yeah.
You won't find one. The attacks on ICE is unprecedented, 700% increase, and we're not even talking about the doxing of agents, their spouses, and their children. So they're wearing masks to help give them some sort of protection. But the same people that are complaining about ICE wearing masks, have they ever said anything about BLM protesters wearing masks?
Well, I mean, that leads me to the question that, like, do you have concerns that it...
Let me answer, though. Let me answer.
Yeah, okay.
Have they ever say anything about the mass protesters that became criminals on college campuses that threatened Jewish students and took over buildings, destroyed property? They were all wearing masks. Did anybody pass legislation saying they can't wear a mask during a protest? No. We're talking about law enforcement.
Oh, I think there are a lot of people who are upset about that. But then...
Have you seen any legislation proposed to remove masks from protesters that become criminals, that take over college campus? You haven't. Look at the BLM protesters, how many lives were lost, how much property was stolen. They're all wearing masks. Did anybody propose legislation saying it's illegal to wear a mask in public while you're protesting? No, there isn't. This is attacking ICE officers. The Democrats want to want to vilify men and women at ICE and border. And I said from day one, when President Trump won office and I came back and said, now the vilification starts. Right now, it's the racist ICE, the racist border patrol for simply enforcing the law to deal with the repercussions of Biden administration's open borders, where millions of criminals, public safety threats were released in this country. So I support ICE wearing masks. You're still wearing insignia. You got HSI, ERO, or FBI, DEA, but there needs to be some level of protection because the tax is unprecedented. 700%, for God's sake. And what I want to remind people is, I was an ICE agent. These men and women at ICE, they're mothers and fathers too. They don't hang their heart on a hook every day and they come to work. Not the beast. They're enforcing a law. They're trying to make this country safe again, and they're being vilified for it and attacked for it. And we're not going to tolerate it. Zero tolerance on this.
I think
zero freaking tolerance. Oh, and let's go. Let's go to my boy, Stephen Miller, 11 hours ago. Here it is. Stephen Miller delivers the single greatest explanation of the Democrat Party's immigration agenda in 2 minutes flat. This is a wake-up call. It lays out a strategy decades in the making, a history lesson unfolding in real time. Yeah, Stephen, let's go.
And socialism. The left has been trying to shove Marxism, socialism, and communism down the throats of the American people for generations now. They ultimately were not able to do this during the Cold War because the middle class revolted against communism and Marxism and social engineering. The left shifted their tactics. The Democratic Party shifted their tactics to use migration as a weapon to break down the middle class and to gain political power and control in this country. They used migration to destroy our public education system, to destroy our healthcare system, to destroy wages and working conditions for the middle class of this country, and in effect, to destroy social and community cohesion. And then in that rubble, in that chaos, in that conflict, to then try to articulate the need for ever more government control, ever more government redistribution, ever more government power, and then to ultimately import voters to then support that agenda, to import voters who do not believe in limited government, who do not believe in the U.S. Constitution. And that is why you are seeing now this violent insurrectionist revolt by the Democrat Party against immigration and customs enforcement. You see video after video after video of Democrat shock troops in the streets hurling rocks at ICE officers and Border Patrol in their vehicles, firing projectiles at them, violently assaulting them, and yes, opening fire on them. Multiple assassination attempts against our brave and heroic ICE and Border Patrol agents, and barely a word of condemnation from the Democrat Party. In fact, the Democrat rhetoric calling our ICE officers, calling our Border Patrol Nazis and Gestapos and fascists, demanding as they do that ICE leave their communities, this nullificationist rhetoric, all of which inspires and incites these domestic terror attacks against law enforcement. So we really are at a hinge point here for the West.
We are at a hinge point, my friends. And if you got value from this report, tap subscribe. My final thought is next. This is what invasion looks like with a receipt. Chicago's children lost 432 teachers so illegals could get benefits. Special education kids, the most vulnerable, lost 677 assistants, not because of budget cuts, not because of COVID, but because Democrat mayors chose foreign nationals over American children. And when ICE tries to rescue kids from trafficking rings, when they bust forced labor camps, when they arrest rapists and murderers, Democrats call them fascists. Tom Homan nailed it. These politicians sat silent while migrants died in parking lots under Biden, but now they're outraged when criminals get deported? Even Democrats like Mark Cuban are saying enough. Stephen Miller just exposed their decades-long plan. Demographic replacement funded by your tax dollars, and they're not even hiding it anymore. LA is literally paying illegals not to work. So here's my question. Should any mayor who uses tax dollars for illegal immigrant benefits while firing teachers be charged with dereliction of duty? Yes or no? Sound off below. And show your support for real journalism at our merch shop. If you want to support Alligator Alcatraz, you can do so proudly. You can even expose the AutoPen scandal. A little tongue-in-cheek t-shirt. You can check them out. You can also support one of your favorite members of the Trump administration in our American Badass series. It's all there. To trigger a liberal at shop.nextnewsnetwork.com. You'll find it linked down below.